Hey everyone, back for another video here, and today we are literally hours away from the release of Wuthering Waves. And since we are so close to the launch, I thought I'll let you all know about the best teams you could use on day 1 of Wuthering Waves. And without further ado, let's start with our first team. In this team, we are going to use Jiyan as our main DPS. Jiyan is the first limited banner 5-star available when the game launches. He can deal tons of damage by using his ultimate, which summons a dragon, and every time he does a normal attack, a dragon will attack with him at the same time. This dragon is considered heavy attack, and with Jiyan as our main DPS, you have two options for his support. One of them is Modify. Not only Modify ultimate will deal damage to enemies every time one of your character does a normal attack, but also his Ultra skill will increase the heavy attack damage of the character you're switching into. So he's a perfect fit for Jiyan since his ultimate is considered heavy attack. The second option for his support if you don't have Modify is Alto. Alto is a good overall sub DPS that can deal a lot of damage, but also his Ultra skill will increase the aero damage bonus of the character you're switching into. So again, he's a good support for Jiyan. So if you don't have Modify, he's also a good choice. And you can use Rover if you don't have both of them. And in the last spot, you can use a healer or support whatever you want to. You can use Baiji, Verena, even Jiangshin if you want to. But keep in mind that Jiangshin will take a long time to give shield to everyone. For the second team, we are going to use Danjin as our main DPS. Now, even though Danjin is a 4-star, her damage is even equal to the 5-star main DPS characters. Her source of damage is from her skill, which will consume her HP to attack the enemies, but don't worry, she can get it back by herself with the help of her Forte circuit. And since her main source of attack is coming from her skill and she doesn't need a lot of healing, for her support we're going to use Tao Chi. Tao Chi will give everyone shield and make them take less damage from the enemies. And with her Ultra skill, she will buff the skill damage of the character you're switching into. So she's the perfect support for Danjin. But if you don't have Tao Chi, you can also use Jiangshin for the shield and for the all damage bonus. And for the third spot, you can use any sub DPS you want if you're either using Tao Chi or Jiangshin. If you're worried about Danjin HP consumption and you might need a little bit more health, then using a healer for the third spot is also a good idea, like Baiji or Verena. But if you don't need the healer, using any kind of sub DPS like Rover or Jixia is also a good choice. Now for our third team, we're actually going to use Rover as our main DPS. Now the main character in this game is surprisingly good enough that you can use him as a main DPS. His main source of damage as a main DPS will come from his skill. His skill has a low cooldown and deals a good amount of damage, but with the help of his Forte circuit, he can actually use his skill by just normal attacking. And because his skill is the main source of his damage, for his support we are going to use Tao Chi. Tao Chi will give everyone shield and reduce their damage taken, but at the same time by using her Ultra skill, she will buff the skill damage of the character you're switching into, which is perfect for Rover. And also if you're using Rover and Tao Chi at the same time, you don't need to use a healer anymore, since Rover ult will heal everyone in the team by a small amount and Tao Chi will give everyone shield and reduce their damage taken. So by combining these two together, you don't need a healer for the third spot. And you can use any sub DPS as your third spot, like for example Jixia or Yang. But if you don't have Tao Chi or you don't want to build her, then you can use Jixia as a sub DPS and use Baiji for a healer. Now let's get into our team number 4. In this team we are going to use Lingyang as our main DPS. Now Lingyang as a solo character might not look that strong, but if you pair him with good support, he can actually perform a lot better than you might think. For our support we are going to use Sanhua. Sanhua can deal a lot of damage in a short period of time, and with her Ultra skill, she can buff Lingyang Glacial damage bonus, which combining them with Lingyang's own buff that you get from his kit, they're going to work pretty well together. But if you don't have Sanhua, you can also use Rover as a sub DPS to freeze the enemies so Lingyang can perform his combo. And for our third spot, you can use a healer like Baiji, or what you can do is if you have the 4th sequence node of Yuanwu, you can actually use him. Yuanwu 4th sequence node will give everyone shield, and with his pillar he can damage everyone around him. But there is something only he can do as of right now, which is increase the resistance to interruption for everyone in your team. So Lingyang can actually do his combo without getting interrupted, and with Yuanwu's 4th sequence node, Lingyang doesn't get too much damage when he's doing his combo. And for our final team, which in my opinion it's the best team in 1.0, is Calcharo's team. In this team with Calcharo as our main DPS, he's going to shred the enemies with both his skill and ultimate. Now for Calcharo's support, I think by now everyone knows that his best support is Yinlin, but Yinlin's is not going to be available to get until her banner comes. So what you can do is to use his best support after Yinlin, which is Rover. Rover can freeze the enemies with his ult and outro skill, and he can deal most of his damage in short period of time. And for the third spot, a healer like Verena is the best option you have. You can also use Baiji or any sub DPS you want to use with calcharo. But for the healer spot, Verena is going to be the best option, since she can buff calcharo and Rover's attack and also heal them at the same time. Thank you so much for watching the video till now. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back for another video. Bye bye.